Honourable Leader of the Alberta Liberal Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's the best of times and the worst of times, and according to a report from the Parkland Institute titled Social Policy Framework for Alberta, Alberta has quickly become home to both the wealthiest and poorest citizens in the country. Alberta has the highest poverty gap, and our Indigenous communities overrepresented in the poverty group. Poverty is driving inequality off the cliff in our society, and we are footing the bills for mental health, addictions, violence, courts, policing, prisons, lower high school graduation rates, and lower health outcomes. To the Premier, how is the government's social policy framework going to address growing levels of poverty and the worsening inequalities in our society?
Honourable Minister of Human Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm more than delighted to talk about the fact that we are engaged in a social policy framework discussion with Albertans, because it's something that matters to all Albertans, and all Albertans have to be engaged in that topic. As the honourable member raised in his question, it's not simply about wage disparity, income disparity, but it is about income disparity. I was privileged to hear a report about a meeting that members of our caucus had, for example, with Women's Building Futures, a wonderful organization that's helping some of that wage gap, because they're helping women find better jobs and get some of those higher-paying jobs that traditionally have been in the purview of men. I was also today at a family violence prevention thing. That's another part.
The Honourable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, this issue has been going on for decades, and they're having discussions. Albertans want action, and they wanted it 10 years ago, and they want it today. To the Premier, why do you insist on regressive policies that download costs to hardworking Albertan families in the form of user fees, mandatory school fees, higher tuitions, instead of progressive tax rate that would see the wealthy pay their fair share? The same policies that Peter Lloyd had. Why don't you implement those, Premier?
Honourable Premier.
Mr. Speaker, I want to speak to how proud I am of our Minister of Human Services, who has undertaken a comprehensive consultation with respect to the social policy framework. One of the things, Mr. Speaker, that I learned when I was Minister of Justice was that the foundational work with respect to community development and building families, ensuring that families were empowered to provide support for their children, were given support through programs, through institutions, through education and health care, to ensure that every child had the opportunity to success, was fundamental. And, Mr. Speaker, this government introduced a social policy framework to lead that discussion, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results of that.
Honourable Leader.
Mr. Speaker, given that we have more than 70,000 children in poverty, I want to say how proud I am of hard-working Albertans who go to work each and every day to build this great province. And given that our greatest resource is their children, and given that today we have a golden opportunity to develop a just, fair and inclusive society where we can all benefit from our resource riches. To the Premier, why does your government insist on keeping the benefits of Alberta's great wealth in the family instead of implementing truly progressive revenue reforms?
Speaker,
Honourable Minister.
I'll tell you what truly progressive reforms are. Truly progressive reforms are raising AISH payments by 400 months so people on AISH can live in dignity. There's some people who have among the lowest income in the country. Truly progressive policies are raising the daycare qualification income amount to $50,000 so that low-income Albertans can have quality child care with standards while they're at work at those jobs. True progressive policy is supporting organizations like Women Building Futures so that they can help women get the skills that they need to get those high